Very warm welcome to Army Shakil 5858. I am Ahmed Shackle. Following are the latest news headlines which have been reported by American, European, Canadian, Asian, African, and Australian news channels and all other news agencies. So please, let's go to the news.
Tonight, the 10th Oval Office confrontation. President Trump in an extraordinary scene accusing the president of South Africa of allowing genocide of white people in a series of unsubstantiated claims. Elon Musk and South African golfers on hand for the confrontation. It comes after the administration granted dozens of white citizens of South Africa refugee status, allowing them to travel to the U.S. The funnel clouds menacing the landscape of the Deep South and the mess left behind of one of the most active spring tornado seasons on record. Now the new nor'easter in the forecast. The Pentagon accepts a controversial luxury megajet from Qatar that President Trump could one day use as Air Force One, as security and ethics questions loom. First the jailbreak, now the manhunt. 5 inmates captured, 5 on the run in New Orleans, plus 2 women arrested, how they're accused of aiding the fugitives. The new photos of federal agents' raid of Sean Diddy Combs' home as the trial continues. The chaotic scene aboard a flight after a false bomb threat. Plus, from Northern Lights to the City of Light, one astronaut shares his stunning views with me that will leave you breathless.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome.
A story in 5 words.
Morning, Joe, then, and now. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
There were plenty of days in public when he was not the best Biden ever. And
Yeah,
of course,
he stumbled and bumbled around, Mark. I mean, yeah, he certainly did. Donald Trump did. Other politicians did. But I said that this was Biden at his best. Sure, that's what I saw. That's what other people saw. I was obviously wrong. That's not enough. I'm not vindictive, Tom, but I am vengeful. No, you know what? He tried. Did you watch any of this interview?
he hasn't watched the whole thing.
He tried to say what did he say? He was like going, what are we to learn from this? What do we know? He says, what are we to take away from this? And so somebody is supposed to do the soul searching for him.
Unbelievable. Morning, Joe. He's so sad. They should change the name to MOURNING. That's what it's been like the past few months. But the thing is, he should just come out and say, he was my guy. I was trying to protect my guy. Because we all know that's what he was doing. Trump supporters, they don't try to cover for Trump. Trump has done some weird things, and we're like, yeah, that was weird what Trump did, but I'm still voting for him. Yeah. We don't try to cover him. They were like, oh, he's totally normal. He's an old grandpa type of guy. He reminds me of my grandpa. The one that died before I was born. But the Trump supporters know they like Trump because of all of his qualities. So they'll agree. They'll say, okay, that was a little weird what Trump did. Some Trump supporters are like, I don't even know if I like these terrorists, but let's give them a try. They're honest about Trump. They don't lie, and they also say, I'm partisan. You don't have to trust my view. I like Trump, so I'm telling you that I like him. But these guys try to act like they're not on the side of Biden when they clearly are.
They want their cake and eat it too, a phrase I just came up with. But it's true. They say
Tonight, breaking news, the Trump administration making it official. The $400 million 747 cutter has now been accepted. The president plans to use it as Air Force One. Also breaking at this hour, the storms and now this nor'easter set to hit Washington, D.C., New York City, right up to Boston. First tonight, the Pentagon accepting Qatar's controversial gift, that $400 million luxury jet the president plans to use as Air Force One. American taxpayers will pay for the makeover to secure the jet. President Trump rejecting criticism tonight from both parties, and the Democratic leader late today who said this gift screams national security risk. It is a bribe in broad daylight. Also tonight, the confrontation in the Oval Office. President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa, who denied the unsubstantiated claims of a white genocide. The president of South Africa saying, I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you. Tonight, the storms hitting the Northeast, gusting winds, heavy rain, and then this nor'easter building right behind it. D.C. up through New York City to Boston, bracing for these storms, just as millions travel for the holiday. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. Tonight, 2 women now under arrest, accused of helping those fugitives who escaped in that massive jailbreak. What police say the women did to help them avoid capture. Tonight, President Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson mounting a pressure campaign to try to get the president's massive tax cut and spending bill passed. Some Republican holdouts are concerned over projections that President Trump's bill could add trillions to the deficit over the next decade. The disturbing images here tonight, authorities seizing more than 300 animals from a safari park right here in the U.S. The truck smashing into a home in the Northeast, the driver apparently suffering a medical emergency. The measles scare following a major sold-out concert outside New York City, what authorities are now saying tonight. The real estate battle over Pope Leo's childhood home outside Chicago tonight. Will it be safe for people to visit, or will it go to the highest bidder? Tonight, the decision is in on the future of the Tush Push, and Deborah Roberts is here with the school children, getting the chance to star in a Disney musical.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this. From CBS News Headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson.
For more than a century, the Oval Office has been the scene of dignified diplomatic exchanges between the President of the United States and other world leaders.
But President Trump has turned the Oval into a ring for sparring with them, including the President of Ukraine, the Prime Minister of Canada, and now the President of South Africa.
Mr. Trump sprung a video on an unsuspecting Cyril Ramaphosa designed to back Mr. Trump's unsubstantiated claims that there's a genocide underway in South Africa targeting white farmers.
In recent days, the president has welcomed white refugees from South Africa to the United States, just weeks after signing an executive order suspending America's refugee admission program.
Deborah Patta is in South Africa and is South African. We will hear from her in a moment.
But we begin with Weijia Zhang at the White House. Weijia?
Good evening. For months, President Trump has accused South Africa of condoning genocide, even cutting off all U.S. assistance to the country back in March. Today, the South African president was hoping to reset the relationship, but Trump had a different plan.
We also have
The meeting started with a friendly jab from President Trump.
He is a man.
On this Wednesday night, desperation in Gaza.
There are not sufficient food for any of these children to actually have a proper growth.
The protests against aid trucks, the excruciating wait at soup kitchens, and the Israeli Prime Minister's defiance. Defending North America, how the U.S. president's proposed missile shield might work and whether Canada should be part of it. Canada Post's new offer to the union, how small businesses are bracing for a potential strike. Plus, he is all ears.
I really want to hear other people's experience.
One retired social worker's mission to cross the country and listen to strangers. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Israel's Prime Minister is dismissing his critics, foreign and domestic, who are heavily criticizing his decision to expand the war in Gaza. Speaking only to Israeli media tonight, Benjamin Netanyahu said he intends to take control of Gaza. I am ready to end the war, he said, if all the hostages are returned, Hamas hands over all its weapons and leaves, and we implement President Trump's plan. The U.S. president has said he wants to take over Gaza and develop it into a resort. There are reports that includes relocating up to 1 million Palestinians to Libya. Right now, Gaza remains a war zone. More than 80 people, including women and children, were killed on Wednesday. That's according to the health ministry there. People are on the move again, searching somewhere for safe zones, but there are none. Redmond Shannon has our top story tonight.
80 days since the start of Israel's blockade on Gaza. Soup kitchens with any supply are overwhelmed. This man says after more than 5 hours waiting, he got enough lentil soup for his family. He says they went without food yesterday.
As we speak, there are no fruits into the Gaza Strip. There are no dairy products. There are not sufficient food for any of these children to actually have a proper growth.
Israel's military says 200 aid trucks have been allowed into Gaza this week. Aid groups say 500 are needed daily, and those permitted in remain in a holding area. The United Nations says the onward route into Gaza that Israel has approved is too dangerous. For some Israelis, even this much aid is too much. This Israeli man accuses counter-protesters who support aid deliveries of defending vile murderers.
We want to make sure that aid is going in. We want to make sure that things get better slowly in Gaza and that we end this war.
The conflict among Israeli citizens reflected in its politics. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Bennett on the Navaz. It is away. On the News Hour tonight, a stunning Oval Office confrontation over President Trump's unfounded claims of white genocide in South Africa. A look at how the Department of Justice is focusing much of its energy on targeting perceived political enemies. And Judy Woodruff sits down with a former educator who's aiming to restore dignity to political discourse.
Americans are widely in agreement on one thing, and that is that we are much too divided to be productive, much too divided to be healthy, much too divided to be optimistic about the future.
Unparalleled Richards, bringing you Africa Stories on France 24.
Thanks for joining us. See you again. Take care.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Welcome back to Daybreak, and here are this morning's top stories. A suspect is in custody after the shooting dead of two people outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. U.S. Secretary for Homeland Security says both were staff members at the Israeli embassy. Israel's ambassador to the UN calls the killing a depraved act of anti-Semitic terror. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says humanitarian aid will be distributed in Gaza to prevent a crisis, but aid groups say the crisis is already underway and no aid is getting through. Netanyahu also says the military operation to defeat Hamas will continue, but he does not rule out a temporary ceasefire to potentially secure the release of more hostages. Donald Trump makes false claims of a genocide of white farmers in South Africa as he welcomes Cyril Ramaphosa to the White House. South African president pushes back calmly against the claim, which has long been a staple of far-right conspiracy theories in the United States.
CTV and ABC iView. Today, one dead and a second body found in the floods inundating the New South Wales Hunter and Mid-North coast. A step towards reconciliation, the Liberal and National parties agreed to delay announcing their front benches just days after breaking up.
I think this is a positive development, one that does show good faith.
Two Israeli embassy staff members shot dead outside a Jewish museum in downtown Washington. History maker Ange Postecoglou leads Tottenham to victory in the Europa League, claiming the club's first trophy in 70 years. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ross Childs. A rural community on New South Wales.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Paul Sook. At this hour, a natural disaster declared in Australia's New South Wales. Torrential rain triggers widespread flooding, killing one person and stranding tens of thousands. Singapore's economy expanding at a faster than expected pace in the first quarter, up 3.9% from a year ago. Authorities maintaining its growth forecast for the current year as trade tensions between the US and China ease. At 90 truckloads of UN aid head into Gaza after a near 3 months blockade is eased, but it's still unclear when relief will reach civilians. Torrential rain.
Good morning,
everyone. It's 6 o'clock on today's show. 2 Israeli embassy staffers have been killed in a shooting outside a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C.
A justice system in need of overhaul. An independent review recommends fewer criminals to be put behind bars to ensure there's space in jails for the most dangerous offenders. We'll be speaking to the man that led that review, former Justice Secretary David Gork, later in the programme.
Well, it's Thursday, the 22nd of May. Coming up, Washington police say a suspect chanted "Free Palestine" soon after the shooting of 2 Israeli embassy staff. Violent criminals and sexual offenders could be released early under suggested reforms to overhaul the prison system. Gang violence and displacement in Haiti's capital triggers a rise in malnutrition and cholera. Sky News visits one of the last functioning hospitals in Port-au-Prince. Donald Trump ambushes South Africa's president with claims of genocide of white farmers. Plus, in sport, Tottenham beat Man United in the final of the Europa League. Good morning. We begin with breaking news. 2 Israeli embassy staff members.
Support our independent journalism at democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israel's military is continuing its assault on Gaza, killing at least 52 people since sunrise this morning. As Palestinian health officials warn of a growing hunger catastrophe 80 days after Israel imposed a total blockade on food, water, and medicine. The United Nations says no aid has been distributed in Gaza due to tight restrictions imposed by Israel, which has allowed just a handful of aid trucks into the territory in the last days. That's despite the UN's warning on Tuesday that 14,000 babies are at risk of dying without immediate aid. Gaza's health ministry says at least 326 deaths have been linked to malnutrition and lack of medicine since March, while 300 pregnant Palestinians have suffered miscarriages caused by nutritional deficiencies. This is a displaced Palestinian mother in Gaza City.
Life is very, very difficult. We hear about those 8 trucks coming in. Some 9 vehicles, others say 12 vehicles, and it's all lies. We don't see anything sent to us.
The United Kingdom has suspended trade talks with Israel and will impose sanctions on West Bank settlers. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Keir Starmer called Israel's announcement that it would allow a small quantity of food into Gaza for its starving population of over 2 million totally and utterly inadequate. This is British Foreign Secretary.
Which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Hannah Aquin, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, you didn't say that, Dave.
It's a surprise.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Please join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Migrant crossings set to hit a record high this year.
Yes, new modelling shows the country is braced for the arrivals of 50,000 illegal immigrants on small boats.
It comes as a leaked memo reveals Angela Rayner called for a curb on migrant benefits, with strict limits on access to pensions and universal credit.
Well, with net migration figures due out later this morning, we're asking, have we lost control of our borders?
Breaking news, and 2 Israeli embassy workers have been shot dead in Washington, D.C., near a Jewish museum.
Kemi Badenoch brands the government's U-turn on winter fuel allowance a joke, as the Prime Minister says he's looking at widening eligibility for payments.
These are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. Horrible death.
Donald Trump ambushes the South African president with claims of white persecution in the country.
The Chagos Islands deal will be signed today. That's despite heavy criticism that the move compromises national security.
A crackdown on paedophiles. The Justice Secretary reveals plans to chemically castrate child sex abusers.
As a new report calls for diversity to be embedded into the national curriculum, we're asking, should it really be taught in schools?
And the Prince and Princess of Wales are in Scotland today for the naming of a new warship, HMS Glasgow.
Triumph for Tottenham. Spurs beat Manchester United 1-0 in the Europa League final.
Hello there, good morning. A dry day ahead, a mix of cloud and also some sunshine, but is it still going to be feeling warm? Well, stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Africa News. The news.
Composed and attempting to defuse the situation with light jokes. This is how South African President Cyril Ramaphosa pushed back against allegations made by US President Donald Trump over genocide against white South African farmers. The South African president met with his American counterpart at the White House on Wednesday in order to salvage relations between the two countries, which are at the lowest point in years.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us around the quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it will take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
Despite Ramaphosa's attempts to disprove the claims of a genocide against the white Afrikaner minority, Trump was not satisfied, saying there have been reports and documentaries about the issue. Asked about the meeting after leaving the White House, the South African president meanwhile noted that he thought it had gone very well.
In what officials are calling a renewed battle to reclaim the capital city, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and the Polycloth Municipal Assembly have launched a joint beef injection exercise to clear and authorize traders and structures, choking the city roads, pavements, and walkways. But will these efforts last where many others have failed?
This exercise is not an ideal one. We are on the streets, so we make sure that the roads are clear. We will be looking at spaces within Accra, the streets, where we can allocate on a daily basis that you can go and trade.
Accra's Central Business District is once again at the center of a fierce tug of war between city authorities and traders who have turned roadsides and pavements into bustling markets. On any given day, these walkways are gridlocked by traders, hawkers, and unauthorized structures. It's a daily struggle for space between humans and vehicles alike. Task Force members Moody speaking to traders and urging them to compete peacefully. Other traders, many of them women, pushed back with frustration and desperation in their voices. And therein lies the conundrum: livelihoods versus law and order. Will this exercise be any different from the countless others that fizzled out as quickly as they began?
Everybody, all stakeholders understand the need that there is a new dawn at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and we need this paradigm shift.
From Operation Clean Your Frontage to the many short-lived city beautification campaigns, Accra has seen it all, most failing not due to lack of effort, but lack of political will. Will this be the moment the capital finally breathes again? Peter Wabu Adato for Africa News.
Traffic backed up on a main route in southwestern Pakistan on Wednesday morning as police dealt with a deadly attack targeting the school bus. Officials say at least 6 people died in the suicide bomb blast, including 4 children, while 38 others were wounded, some of them seriously. Today in the morning on the Kenta-Kustar National Highway, the school bus carrying students was targeted, and so far 6 children killed and many wounded. Security officials told us this was a suicide attack. There are fears the death toll may rise as several children are said to be in a critical condition. They were on their way to their military-run school in Kutzai in the rest of Balochistan province when the attack took place. It's been the scene of a long-running insurgency involving an array of separatist groups. No one has yet claimed responsibility for the blast, but Pakistan's Prime Minister released a statement accusing what he called Indian terror proxies. French club Paris Saint-Germain training on Wednesday as they prepare for their UEFA Champions League final clash against Italy's Inter Milan. Neither of the clubs were among the favourites when the new-look 36-team league phase of the competition was rolled out in September. But both have pulled off a series of wins that have seen them secure their place in the showpiece at the Allianz Arena in Munich. PSG's chances of making this year's final were expected to be low after losing star player Kylian Mbappe to Spanish team Real Madrid. This after the French team also lost Neymar and Lionel Messi the year before. But Luis Enrique's men have rallied around and are desperate to win their first ever Champions League. Surprisingly, PSG and Inter Milan have never played against one another competitively. The match on Saturday the 31st of May gets underway at 9 in the evening Central Africa time.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Have a good life. Bye-bye.